Hello, this is my digital presentation for COM 601. Today I'll be discussing the movie Stand By Me and Burke's Equipment for Living. So just to give a brief summary about the movie, in August of 1955, four friends from Castle Rock, Oregon, their names are Gordy, Vern, Chris, and Teddy, they learn the location of a missing local boy that's presumed to be dead by the police. They decide to venture along the railroad in order to find the body and collect a reward. However, along the way, they encounter a pond full of leeches, a vicious guard dog, a gang of bullies. They learn more about each other as well as overcome their own personal demons. So, in my paper, I discuss how the film Stand By Me provides Burke's equipment for living for children who have lost a sibling. So the two theories I used along with Burke's to discuss the movie, the first one is about relational schemas. So a schema is an organized set of memories you use whenever you interact with people. So depending on different life experiences, their schemas will be different somehow. But in terms of family and family communication, it's not random but highly patterned based on particular schemas depending on family members. So these family schemas consist of how intimate the family is, the degree of individuality within the family, and then external factors such as, different types of friends, geological differences, other concerns without the family, and in this particular case in the movie, a death in the family. And based off of the different types of relationships, you can see the relationship Gordy, the main character, has with his family is a very laissez-faire relationship with his mother and father. So it's very low in conversation and conformity, therefore they're very hands-off and low involvement. And this only seems to increase throughout the movie when Gordy discusses the death of his brother. The other theory that I use is relational patterns of interaction, specifically talking about complementary relationships. And this relationship is in regards to Gordy and his best friend, Chris. And the scenes that I chose to discuss really reflect that. So throughout the movie, they have a very complementary relationship, meaning that the communicators respond in opposing ways. So when, one of them is domineering in a conversation, the other one is a little bit more submissive, and if one's nurturing or giving comfort, the other one accepts the nurturing, compared to if they had a symmetrical relationship where there would be a power struggle. That type of relationship happens very rarely within the movie. It's much more complementary. So we'll be discussing that in terms of the different scenes. So in scene number 1, when they are walking along the railroad, Chris and Gordy are talking about the upcoming school year, and Gordy tells Chris that he's not going to be taking the honors classes, he's going to stay with his friends, and Gordy becomes agitated with Chris when Chris tells him that he's making the wrong decision and he needs to leave his friends behind and take the honors class. So if you look at the clip, the scene that I picked, or this part of the scene that I picked specifically, is Chris telling Gordy that if his parents aren't going to take control of the situation, since they are very laissez-faire, that he is going to be the one to push him, he's going to be the one to help him along the way in his struggles, and he's going to be there for him. And he says that kids lose everything unless there's someone there to look out for him. So he's the more dominating person in that conversation, but he has to be just to let Gordy know that he does have someone there for him. The second scene is when Gordy and the other fellas are sleeping at a campfire on their way to go see the body, and Gordy has a dream of being at his brother's funeral, and he's watching the body being lowered into the ground, and his father puts his arm on Gordy's shoulder, and he looks at Gordy and says, "It should have been you who died." So Gordy wakes up startled. Chris asks what's the matter, and then Gordy ultimately tells Chris that he has not yet cried about his brother's death, and he didn't cry at the funeral. So this shows the type of relationship that Gordy sees with his family, and that they don't value him as much as they valued his older brother that you see in other films throughout the movie, and how Chris is very nurturing and being able to help Gordy. So scene 3 is them actually finding the body. So they finally reach their destination and they see the body of the boy laying on the side. And once Gordy sees this, he kind of goes into a state of mind where he's not really answering any questions. So Chris goes over to him and begins comforting him. And Gordy ultimately begins crying, which he has not done yet in the loss of his brother. So because they have that complementary relationship, they're able to do that push-pull of who's the more dominant or more submissive in the conversation. Chris is really able to help Gordy in his pursuit of having some sort of closure about his brother's death, even though his family is not there for him. And there are scenes throughout the movie that I did not choose to focus on that show the opposite relationship between the two boys. It has Gordy nurturing or comforting Chris about a certain situation. So although the scenes that I chose have Chris as a dominating character, it really is a two-way street between the two. So while looking at these scenes and using these two theories, you're able to see how even though Gordy has a family that's very hands-off with a nurturing relationship between two healthy people, he is able to overcome the loss of his brother and the loss of his sibling, and he is able to find himself and realize that he can't be sad, but he does have people there that are able to support him.